We listen to our customers, and many of our customers have told us that sometimes they need to know the older version as well as the newer version of popular software programs. So, to help you stay both flexible and up to date, we've designed QuickStudy videos to be used with the latest as well as the earlier versions of your software programs. This could be a lifesaver in a tight situation. Where major differences exist between the versions, the keystroke sheet shows you both methods. Any suggestions you may have to improve our packages would be appreciated. This QuickStudy video is designed to be watched away from the computer. So for now, just sit back and watch the video. Later, at the computer, you may use the included keystroke sheet to help you remember what keys to push.
Excel is a spreadsheet program that helps you keep track of numbers and financial data. Excel can help you perform simple mathematical operations like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, or more complex operations like finding the average of a list of numbers or the monthly payment on a loan or mortgage. You can even create charts and graphs to display your data. Excel also functions as a database, which organizes information into records, much like an address book. This helps you to search and sort information very easily. In this intermediate Excel video, we'll show you how to enter text and data into cells, how to insert rows and columns and make them wider, how to close, open, save, and print worksheets, how to view more than one worksheet at a time, and how to link them together, how to use formulas and functions, how to use your data to create many different types of charts or graphs with just the push of a button, how to perform complex tasks by just pressing two keys, and how to create a database and sort data. We assume that you're familiar with Windows and that you know how to choose things by clicking on either buttons or menu items in the Windows system. We also assume that you know how to use the Help menu to get help. If not, we suggest that you first watch one of our Windows videos, either Windows 95 or Windows 3.1, depending on which you have installed on your computer. Before we get started, here are a few things you need to know about Excel. This is what the Excel screen looks like. This area below contains small rectangles called cells. If you click on these scroll arrows on the scroll bar, you'll find that there are hundreds of rows of cells. Likewise, if you click on the right arrow button, you'll find there are many more columns. Notice that once you reach the end of the alphabet, double letters appear, starting over with A. Notice this moving plus sign. You're probably familiar with the arrow-shaped mouse pointer in other Windows programs. The plus sign is the same mouse pointer, except that it changes from the arrow to the plus when it's in the cell area. Notice that when the mouse pointer is moved to different areas of the screen, the appearance of the pointer changes. Sometimes it's an arrow, sometimes a vertical bar, and sometimes a plus sign. The plus sign is used to select the cells of the worksheet, and the arrow is used to click the buttons in the toolbars. Each cell in the worksheet has its own individual address. Here, we've selected cell A1. The columns in the worksheet are denoted by letters, and the rows by numbers. So each cell has a unique address. This is A1. This is B2. And this is cell C2. We're selecting these cells with the mouse by clicking once with the left mouse button when the mouse pointer is positioned over the cell we want. You can tell which cell is selected because it has a dark outline. A cell must be selected in this way before we can enter, delete, or edit the information in it. You can also move to a specific cell using a command called Go To, which is found in the Edit menu. Click on the Edit menu with the left mouse button, then down here in the menu, click on Go To. After the Go To dialog box opens, you can type in the cell address in the reference box. Let's find cell Z55. Once the address has been typed in, click OK. Now, in the lower right corner, we see the program has found cell Z55, and its address appears here, just above the upper left corner of the cell area. There's an easy way to return to the top of the worksheet using the keyboard. Hold down the Control key and press Home. Now cell A1 is highlighted. You can also use other keys on the keyboard to move around in the worksheet. These arrow keys move in the direction the arrow points. The Page Up and Page Down keys move up and down in the worksheet one screen at a time. Notice the row numbers changing on the left side of the screen as we move up and down. Using any of these keys will select a cell, and once you've selected a cell, you can enter information. The formula bar. The formula bar is used to enter information into the cells of a worksheet. Here's how it works. With a cell selected, click in the formula bar at the right of this line. The flashing cursor indicates that the formula bar is activated and ready to receive information from the keyboard. Notice the buttons to the left of the cursor. The button with the red X on it is used to delete everything in the cell. For example, if you type something in this cell and then you decide you don't want it there, just click on this button and the information will be deleted. This button with the green check mark on it enters the information you've typed into the cell. Another way to do this is to press the Enter key on the keyboard, which we'll show you in just a minute. This button with the FX on it is used for functions. We'll show you functions later in the video. Now let's type in a column name here. Notice that as the information is typed in the formula bar, it also appears in the cell. But you must either click on this button or press the Enter key on the keyboard to actually keep the information in the cell. When entering numbers, don't use commas. Excel will read it as text rather than a number, which means you won't be able to do some of the functions we'll show you later. Repeat these steps to enter data in other cells. So to review, to select a cell, just click on it with the mouse. Use the arrow keys, or use the Go To feature. Click on the Edit menu and select Go To. Type in the cell address and click OK. To enter information into cells, first click on the cell you want and then click in the formula bar. Type in the information you want. Then press the Enter key to enter the information. If you want to delete the information you've typed in, just click on the button with the red X on it. Working with rows and columns. Next, we'll show you how to insert rows and columns, and we'll also show how to change the height of rows and the width of columns. Say, for instance, you've typed in most of the information you need for your data table, but you forgot a heading that should come before column B. To insert a column to the left of B, first select the column by clicking on the letter. Then, click on the Insert menu and click on Columns. A new column has automatically been inserted to the left of B. This new column is called B, and the one that used to be column B is now column C. To insert a row, do basically the same thing. Click on the number to highlight the entire row. Let's click on row 3 here. Then click on the Insert menu and click on Rows. Now the new row is 3. And the one that used to be row 3 has become row 4. Notice that this word seems to be too long to fit in the cell. We need to make the column wider. To change the width of a column, move the mouse pointer to the top where the column letters are and place it on the border between two columns. You can make the column wider by clicking the mouse here on the border, and while holding the mouse button down, dragging it to the right. This enlarges the column to the width you want. Then just let go of the mouse button. Now the column is wider. You can change the height of the rows the same way. For instance, to change the height of row 3, move the mouse pointer to the row number. Place it on the border between two rows, and when the pointer becomes a double arrow, click and hold the mouse button and drag the border to the height you want. Then just let go of the mouse button. If you don't want to guess what size you need, but you want Excel to automatically change the width of the cells to fit the data, here's how to do that. First, enter the information in the cells. And don't worry about whether your words and numbers are too long to fit in the columns. Then, when you're finished typing, you need to select the cells in your data table to tell the computer these are the cells you want to change. To do this, position the mouse pointer in the upper left-hand corner of the range of cells you'd like to select. Click and hold the left mouse button down and move the mouse to highlight the entire range of cells. When you're finished, release the mouse button. This is also called clicking and dragging. Now click on Format, select Column, and then click on Auto Fit Selection, and the computer will automatically change the width of the cells to fit the data. So, to review rows and columns. To insert a column, click on the letter of a column and click on the Insert menu. Then click on Columns. To insert a row, click on the number of the row, click on the Insert menu, and click on Rows. To change the width of a column, place the mouse pointer on the border between two columns. Then click and drag the mouse to the width you want. Then release the mouse button. Change the height of rows in a similar way. To have the computer automatically change the width of cells to fit the data, first highlight the cells, then click on the Format menu, select Column, and then click on Auto Fit Selection. Editing and deleting. Next, we'll show you how to edit and clear the data in your cells. How to delete rows and columns. How to undo something that's already been done, and how to redo it. Once you've entered your information, you may notice that you need to make a correction. We'll show you how to edit the data in cells, so you can solve problems like this. For instance, here we spelled service wrong. Let's click on the cell that contains the word service. It appears here in the formula bar. Place the mouse pointer between the S and the R, and click to place the cursor there. Then type an E. When you press Enter, the change has been made in the cell. You can easily clear information from a cell or a group of cells if you need to. To clear information from one cell, just click on it and press the Delete key on the keyboard. To clear a group of cells, you first have to select the cells by clicking and dragging the mouse, which we showed you earlier. This highlights all of the cells. Now click on the Edit menu and select Clear, and then click on All. This will delete only the information contained within the cells. Clicking somewhere outside the range will deselect it. You can clear all of the cells in a row or column too. The easiest way to do this is to click on the letter for a column or the number for a row. Or if you want to select the entire worksheet, just click on this corner box. Once you've highlighted your cells, then click on the Edit menu and select Clear, and click on All. If you click the mouse pointer again, it will deselect the cells. Now we'll show you how to delete an entire row or column from your worksheet. First, we want to delete a column. So let's click on the letter for column B. Then go to the Edit menu and select Delete. Notice now the column that used to be column C is column B, and the old column B is gone. It's the same way with rows. Just click on the number of the row you no longer want, and click on the Edit menu. Select Delete, and the rows of cells shift up. If you realize that you've made a mistake, you can usually recover from the last action that you took. To do this, just click on the Undo button in the toolbar. It will undo the last thing you did. In this case, the last thing we did was delete a row. So clicking on Undo has brought back the row we just deleted. If you click on Undo and nothing happens, that means you can't undo it. If you change your mind and want to redo something you've undone, just click on this button and it will automatically restore things to the way they were before you clicked on Undo. So to review, edit text by selecting the cell, placing the cursor in the formula bar, and making your changes. Press the Enter key when finished. To clear the text from a range of cells, select the cells, click on the Edit menu, select Clear, and click on All. To delete a row or column, first click on the letter or number, then click on the Edit menu and select Delete. If you've made a mistake that you want to undo, click on this button in the toolbar. To redo something you've undone, click on this button. Cut, copy, and paste. Now we'll show you how to use cut, copy, and paste to move a block of cells from one area to another in the worksheet. In this case, we've inserted a new column, column B here. We'd like to move some of the information from another column into this column without having to retype it. To do that, we'll use the cut and paste commands. Select the cells in column C and click on the Cut button, which looks like a pair of scissors. Notice the dotted outline of the cells we're cutting. Because we're cutting, the data in those cells will disappear from its original position and appear in a new spot, just as if it had been cut out with a pair of scissors and pasted somewhere else. Now click on a cell where the information is to be pasted. The cell you click on will become the top cell if you're pasting a column, or the left cell if you're pasting a row of information. The information in the rest of the cells will be pasted below or to the right of this cell. Now click on Paste. The information has been cut from C and pasted in B. The drag and drop method. Another method of cutting and pasting is called drag and drop. Select a cell or cells with the mouse. Then move the mouse pointer to the edge of the cells until it becomes an arrow. Now, click and hold the mouse button down while dragging it to the place you want it, and release the mouse button. It's automatically cut and pasted to the new location. You can also use copy and paste, which makes a copy of one or more cells and pastes it in a new location on the worksheet, while leaving the original in its place. This means you'll have the same information in two different places. Copying and pasting is very similar to cutting and pasting. Let's just select these cells and click on Copy. Now select the cell where you want to paste the information and click on the Paste button. The information has been pasted to the new location, but it still remains in the original cells we copied it from. You can also copy an item from one cell to a range of cells. Select a cell and click on the Copy button. Then select a range of cells. Now click on Paste. This number has been copied to all of these cells. To review, you can move text and numbers from one place to another by first selecting the cells and then clicking on the Cut button. Then select a cell or range of cells and click on the Paste button. You can copy cells by selecting them, clicking the Copy button, and then highlighting a cell or range of cells and clicking on Paste. To copy one cell to a range of cells, click on the cell and click on the Copy button. Then select the range of cells and click on Paste. Working with Excel workbooks. Excel files are called workbooks. A workbook can be one single sheet, as you see here, or several sheets, all contained within the same workbook. You can enter information on as many sheets as you want. These tabs down here represent different worksheets in your workbook. You can click on the tab to show each worksheet. Worksheets may contain different data, tables, or graphs, and all of the worksheets make up a workbook or file in Excel. If you click on this arrow button, you'll see that there are 16 worksheets in a workbook. To go back to the first worksheet tab, click on this arrow. In this section, we'll show how to save and close workbooks, how to create new ones, and how to open workbooks that have already been created. Saving. You should save your work in Excel fairly often to avoid losing information. We'll first show how to save a workbook to the hard disk and to a floppy disk. In version 5 and version 7 of Excel, when you want to save your work, just click on the Save button in the toolbar. If this is the first time you're saving your work, then this box will open. It's called the Save As dialog box. It's a little different in both versions, so we'll first explain the one in version 7, then we'll explain the one in version 5. Version 7. The Save As dialog box opens so you can name your workbook file. The computer will automatically suggest a name, and it will be highlighted in the file name box. To replace it with the name you've chosen, you can just begin typing from the keyboard. In version 7, you can type a file name up to 250 characters long. Let's call our workbook Revenue. Right now, when you click on the Save button here, your workbook will be saved in this directory, as you can see in this box. To save your workbook in a different directory, just click on this arrow and click on the icon for the C drive, which is also known as the hard disk. This shows you a list of other directories contained on the C drive. The C drive is like a filing cabinet containing drawers. You choose a particular directory in the same way that you'd open the different drawers in the cabinet. Then you look within each directory to find the specific file you need. Now double-click on the directory you want. Once you've chosen the directory, then click Save. The workbook has now been saved as Revenue, as you can see here in the title bar. Version 5. The Save As dialog box looks like this in version 5. Type in a file name. In version 5, you're limited to 8 characters in a file name. When you click OK, the workbook will be saved in the directory that's highlighted in this window. This will be saved in the Excel directory, within the C drive, also known as the hard drive. If you want to save it in a different directory, double-click on the C directory. This will give you a list of all of the other directories that are contained in it. You can move down the list using the scroll arrows. Then double-click on the directory you want. When you click on OK, your workbook will be saved in this directory. Let's go back to the original directory. To do that, double-click on the C drive and double-click on Excel, which is the directory we were in before. Now click OK to save your document. Version 7. You can also save your document to a floppy disk, so you can have a backup copy of your file, or so you can transfer it to another computer. If you've already saved your file on a hard disk, you need to bring up the Save As dialog box again. To do this, just click on the File menu and click on Save As. Make sure your floppy disk is inserted in the correct drive. Then click on this button and click on the icon that represents the drive your floppy disk is in. Since our floppy disk is in drive A, we'll click on this one. Now click on Save. Revenue is now saved on our floppy disk. Version 5. To save to a floppy disk in version 5, click on File, then Save As. Then in the Save As dialog box, click on the arrow under Drives and click on the icon that represents the drive your floppy disk is in. Again, since our disk is in drive A, we'll click on this drive. Now click OK to save it on the floppy disk. In either version, once you've given the workbook a name and saved it on either the hard disk or a floppy disk, you can save any changes you've made by just clicking on this button. This time you won't get the Save As dialog box. Instead, the new version you're saving will automatically replace the old one. Remember though, if you last saved it on a floppy disk, you'll need to have the floppy disk in the drive when you click on Save. Closing and opening workbooks. In both versions, when you're finished with a workbook and are ready to close, go to the File menu and click on Close. If you've made changes on your workbook since the last time you saved it, Excel will ask you if you want to save it. Just click on Yes. If for some reason you decide not to save the changes, click on No. In our example, we'll click on Yes. The workbook then closes. Now you can either start a new workbook or open one you've worked on before. If you want to start a new workbook, just click on the New button. This will give you a blank sheet so you can start a new file. If you want to open an existing workbook, one that you've already created, just click on the Open button in the toolbar. This brings up the Open dialog box. Once again, this box is a little different in both versions, so we'll first explain the one in version 7, then the one in version 5. Version 7. In version 7, the Open dialog box looks like this. You can type in the name of the worksheet you want to open here, if you know its name. Or you can scroll through a list of worksheets that are already on the disk until you find the one you're looking for. These are the worksheets contained in this directory. If you want to look in a different directory, follow the instructions we gave you earlier by clicking on this arrow and selecting the C drive. Then double-click on the directory and subdirectories and look through them until you find the file you want to open. Here's the workbook called Revenue. That's the one we want. So let's click on it. Then click on Open to open that workbook on the screen. Version 5. This is the Open dialog box in version 5. This list on the left contains all the workbooks stored in this directory. If you don't see the workbook you want in this list, then double-click on the C drive, and double-click on the directory or subdirectory you want until you find your workbook. Here's Revenue. So we click once on it, then we click on OK to open it on the screen. Version 7. To open a workbook from a floppy disk in version 7, first insert the disk in the correct disk drive. Then click on the Open button. This brings up the Open dialog box. Then click on this button and select the disk drive your floppy disk is in. Ours is in drive A. This is a list of all of the files found on the floppy disk. Click on the file you want and click on Open. As you can see from the title bar, the workbook we've called up from the floppy disk is now open on screen. Version 5. To open a file from a floppy disk in version 5, insert your disk, then click the Open button. This brings up the Open dialog box. Now click on this arrow under Drives and click on the drive your floppy disk is in. Here's the list of files on the floppy disk. Click on the one you want and click OK. Now the workbook from the floppy disk has opened on screen. To review, save your workbook by clicking on the Save button in the toolbar. If this is the first time you've saved it, the Save As dialog box will open. Type in the name of the workbook and select the drive or directory you want to save your file to, like this in version 7, or like this in version 5. Now click on the Save button in version 7, or click on the OK button in version 5. To bring up the Save As dialog box again, click on the File menu and click on Save As. To close a workbook, click on the File menu and click on Close. To start a new workbook, just click on this button. To open a workbook you've used before, click on this button. In the Open dialog box, select the file you want. You may need to search through the directories like this in version 7, or like this in version 5. Once you've found your workbook, then click Open or click on OK in version 5. Your workbook then opens on screen. Printing. Next, we'll show you how to print. The easiest way to print is to click on the Print button here in the toolbar. This immediately sends your workbook to the printer, printing only the worksheet that is currently on your screen. But if you want to be more specific about what you're printing, for example, to print only a few rows of the worksheet, or to print several copies, then you have to take a different route. Here's how. Let's say we only want to print the first 4 rows of this worksheet. First, we have to tell the computer which rows we want. To do that, we click and drag to highlight those rows. Now, instead of clicking on the Print button, when you're ready to print, go to the File menu and click on Print. This calls up the Print dialog box. Here we have a few choices. We can print selected information on a worksheet, one selected worksheet, or the entire workbook. We can also choose the number of copies we want to print. Since we want to print only a couple of rows of our data table, we click on Selection to print only what we highlighted on the worksheet. While we're here, let's make 2 copies of this. We change the number of copies by clicking on these arrows at the right of the Copies box. So let's click once on the up arrow to change the number to 2. Click OK, and here's the selection we printed. Just the highlighted rows from our worksheet, and we have 2 copies of it. To print several worksheets at once, you need to first select them before clicking on Print in the File menu. To do this, hold down the Control key on the keyboard and click on the tab of each of the worksheets you want to print. You'll know they're selected if the tabs appear white. Then click on File, click on Print, and in the Print dialog box, click on Selected Sheets and click OK. It will print only those worksheets that were selected. After they're printed, to deselect the worksheets, hold down the Control key and click on the tabs again. To print a workbook, click on the File menu, click on Print. Then in the Print dialog box, select Entire Workbook and click OK. This will print all of the worksheets in the workbook that have text or data written on them. To review printing, to quickly print the current worksheet, click on the Print button. To print the selected cells on a worksheet, highlight the cells, click on File, then click on Print, and choose Selection in the Print dialog box. Then click OK. To print multiple copies of the same worksheet, bring up the Print dialog box. Then click on the arrows at the right of the Copies box to increase or decrease the number of copies you want. Click OK. To print one or more worksheets, select the tabs in the workbook by holding down the Control key and clicking on the tabs. Then bring up the Print dialog box again and click on Selected Sheets. Then click OK. To print a workbook, bring up the Print dialog box, click on Entire Workbook, and click OK. Formulas. Now that you've learned the basics of Excel and have typed data into the worksheet, you're ready for the next step, doing calculations with the numbers. The ability to do mathematical calculations is really what makes a spreadsheet useful. In this section, we'll show you how to enter a simple formula into a cell, and how to use the sum function to add cells together. To enter a simple formula, first select a cell where you want the formula to be. Then click in the formula bar to activate it. Be sure to click to the right of this line, or nothing will happen. After you click, these 3 buttons will appear. We'll begin typing the formula with the equal sign. Excel knows the difference between a formula and normal text because a formula starts with an equal sign. When you type in the formula, you can use the number pad to enter the numbers and the plus sign, minus sign, and so on. If you find that your number pad doesn't work, it could be that the number lock isn't on. To turn it on, simply press the num lock key on your keyboard. Now let's type C2 plus C3 plus C4. This formula tells the computer to add the numbers in cells C2, C3, and C4 and place the result in this cell. Once you've typed in the formula, press Enter on the keyboard. Now the result of the formula, that is, the sum of these 3 cells, is in this cell. As long as this formula is in the cell, it will always contain the sum of these 3 cells, no matter what numbers are in the cells. For example, let's change the number in cell C2. Then when you press Enter, the sum in this cell changes too. There are other ways to get the same results. For instance, instead of listing each cell individually, you can add a group of cells together using the sum formula. Sum is a special kind of formula called a function. We'll talk more about functions in a few minutes. Sum is such a common function, it even has its own button in the toolbar. This little button with the Greek letter sigma is the auto sum button. It's used to put the sum formula into a cell. To use it, first select a cell at the bottom of a column of numbers. Then click on the auto sum button. Now the formula appears automatically in the formula bar, and it assumes that you want to add all of the numbers directly above the cell. The colon in the formula is simply a way of indicating a range of cells. In this case, the range includes D2 to D4. Notice the dotted line around the cells to be added. When you press the Enter key, the value will appear in the cell. If you want to add a row of numbers, just click at the end of the row and click on the Auto Sum button. Press Enter, and the result appears in the cell. Using sum with empty cells. If you have a group of numbers that you want to add together, but have empty cells in your row or column, you may encounter a few problems. If you use the Auto Sum button, it will only add the cells after the last blank cell. If you try to add them by typing in all of the cell addresses, it would be a long formula. To solve this problem, first click in the formula bar. Then type in a formula which includes the range of all the cells you want to add together. Here's how to do that. Type the equal sign, SUM, left parenthesis, the first cell address, followed by a colon, and the last cell address. Now type the right parenthesis and press Enter. This is the best way to add cells when you have an empty cell in a row or column. Let's do one more formula. This time let's multiply two cells and divide the result by the third cell. To do this, click on the cell you want the formula in and click in the formula bar to activate it. Type in an equal sign to tell the computer you're going to enter a formula. Then type in the first cell address, the multiplication sign, which is an asterisk, the second cell address, then the division sign, which is a slash, and the third cell address. This formula reads cell E2 times cell E3 divided by cell E4. When you press the Enter key, the answer appears. You can create other formulas exactly the same way, by just using the correct symbols. So to review, first select the cell where you want the formula to be. Click in the formula bar to activate it. Type in an equal sign, then the first cell address, then type the plus, minus, and so forth. Then type the second cell address. You can also use different combinations of plus, minus, the asterisk for multiply, or the slash for divide. Continue like this until you've got the formula you want. Press Enter to get the result. To use the sum function, click on the cell where you want the total to appear. Click on the Auto Sum button, then press Enter. The sum of the cells you're adding together will then appear in this cell. Copying formulas to other cells. There's an interesting thing that happens when you copy a formula from one cell and paste it into another one. For example, Let's click on cell D5. Here in the formula bar, you can see that this cell contains the sum of D2, D3, and D4. Now, let's copy this formula and paste it into cell C5, just to see what happens. First, we'll click on the Copy button to copy the formula. Now we'll click on cell C5 to highlight it. Then click the Paste button. Now look at the formula bar. The formula has changed. Now it's adding cells C2, C3, and C4. This has to do with the way formulas are really calculated in Excel. Let's go back and look at the original formula in cell D5. In this formula, Excel doesn't really think of these cells as D2, D3, and D4. It thinks of them as the three cells directly above the formula cell. It's like giving someone directions on where to go from where they're currently standing, such as go 3 blocks north. In spreadsheet language, it's known as a relative address or relative reference because it relates to the current location of the formula. That's why when you copy the formula to a different cell, the cell addresses change. This feature allows you to create a formula anywhere on a worksheet and then copy and paste it anywhere else without having to retype the cell addresses. But what if you need to refer to a specific cell in a formula? For example, in this cell, we have a formula that figures sales tax. It takes the value of B2, the sales figure for July, and multiplies it by the sales tax, which is in C7. When you want to refer to a specific cell on the worksheet, you need to write the cell address in a special way. You put a $sign before the column letter and another $sign before the row number. This means to get the value from cell C7 only. This is like telling someone to go to a specific intersection, such as the corner of C Street and 4th Avenue, instead of saying go 3 blocks north. This is known as a fixed or absolute address. Now let's copy and paste this formula and see what happens. Click Copy, then highlight the cell you want your total to appear in, and click Paste. Now look at the formula bar. The cell address without the $signs changed from B2 to C2, which is the appropriate sales figure for August. But the cell address for the sales tax is still C7. Click on the next cell, paste the formula, and you'll find the same thing has happened there. In this one, the formula is D2 times C7. Each one of these cells multiplies the appropriate sales figure by the sales tax. If for some reason the sales tax changed, you'd only have to change it in one place, cell C7. All of these figures then would be updated automatically. So to review, when you copy a formula that's written the normal way and paste it in a new location, the cell addresses change, so the formula will use the appropriate figures at the new location. When you copy and paste a formula that has an absolute address in it, indicated by the $signs, it remains the same, no matter what cell you copy it to. Functions. A minute ago, we showed how to use the sum function. Now we'll show you two more functions. One that figures the average of a group of numbers, and another that figures monthly payments for mortgages or loans. We've made a new column here and have typed in average. We'd like to show the averages of the 3 months in these cells. Let's choose sales first. We start by clicking on the cell where we'll be entering the function. There's a quick way to put the formula or function into the cell. We just use the Excel function wizard. This is an easy way to enter functions, since it tells you step by step how to enter them into your spreadsheet. To use the function wizard, just click on it once with the mouse. Now you can select a function by clicking on a category here. Notice that when you do, the list of functions will change here. We'll click on All. A list of all of the functions in Excel appears in this window. If you click on a function, it will appear with a description of the function down here. It's possible to choose any of the functions in this list, but we'll only show you how to do 2 of them. First, we'll show you how to average a range of cells. To do that, let's choose Average, and click on Next to go to the next step. Here, you enter the cell addresses of the data you need. To do this, just type in the first cell address, then a colon, and the last cell address. This is similar to what we showed you earlier in the sum function. Click Finish. Now you'll see the average of cells B2 through D2 in this cell, and the function is here in the formula bar. Go ahead and press Enter. Using click and drag to get a range of cells. There's an easier way to enter the cell addresses. Click on the cell and click on the function wizard. Select the function you want and click on Next. Now, instead of typing in the cell addresses, you can click and drag with the mouse to choose the cells in the worksheet. To do this, move the dialog box out of the way by clicking and holding on the blue title bar and dragging it to a new location. Then click and drag the mouse over the range of cells you want in the function. You'll see an outline around the cells, and the cell addresses will appear in this box. Click on Finish to get your answer. Another useful function called PMT, or Payment, allows you to figure out mortgage and loan payments. Let's use a new worksheet or workbook. Click on the function wizard again and select the Financial category. Then click on PMT, or Payment. Then click Next. Several different values are necessary for this function, and they're shown here in bold type. The first one is rate. This is the interest rate per period. Let's type in 8%, which is our annual interest rate. But since we want to figure monthly payments, we need to divide it by 12. To do that, we just type a slash, which means divide, and then type 12. Now we press the Tab key. Be careful not to press the Enter key instead of the Tab key, because if you do, the computer will think you're finished, and it won't have enough information to complete the function. The NPER is the total number of periods or payments. For a 30-year mortgage, the number of periods would be 360. That's 30 years times 12, because we make 12 monthly payments per year. So type in 360 to figure monthly payments. Then press the Tab key again and type in the present value of the loan. Let's type in $65,000 without the commas. You'll notice that these last 2 values are optional, so let's not worry about them. These figures are all we need for Excel to figure out our monthly payment. So click on Finish. Here's the monthly payment in red. The reason it's in red is because it's a payment or a debit from your account. Here's the function in the formula bar. You can change any of these numbers in the formula to find out what the payments would be for that amount. For instance, let's change the present value to 70,000 by clicking the mouse pointer right before 65,000 and dragging the mouse to select it. Now type in 70000 and press Enter. Now the new payment amount is indicated in the cell. using cell addresses in the payment function. There's an easy way to make changes in any of the figures we're using to calculate our loan payment. We do that by putting the values in different cells in the worksheet. Then we put cell addresses in the function instead of numbers. We've made a table here with the interest rate, number of pay periods, and the present value in these cells. Now we just need to put these cell addresses into the function in place of the numbers. Let's change the 8% in the function to the address of the interest rate cell, which is B2. With the formula cell selected, click the mouse pointer right before the 8% in the formula bar and drag the mouse to highlight it. Then type B2. Leave the division sign and the 12 in the formula if you want to figure monthly payments. Now let's replace the number of payments with the cell address B3. And we'll replace the present value with cell address B4. Once the cell addresses are entered into the formula, press Enter. And here's your monthly payment. Now, instead of changing the figures in the function cell, you can just change them here. For instance, let's change the interest rate to 6%. As soon as you press the Enter key on your keyboard, the payment amount will automatically change. Changing the values in these other cells will affect the payment amount in the same way. To review, you can average a group of cells by first selecting a cell in the worksheet, then clicking on the Function Wizard button. Click on All, and select Average. Then click on Next. Enter the range of cells that you want to average by typing in the first cell address, colon, and the last cell address. Then click on Finish and press Enter. To use the PMT or payment function, select an empty cell and click on the Function Wizard button. Select the Financial category and click on PMT. Then click Next. Type in the annual interest rate, a slash, and 12 to figure the monthly rate, and press the Tab key. Type in the number of payments and press the Tab key again. Type in the present value, which is the loan amount, and click on Finish. Now press Enter to get the value. Remember, if you want to find the monthly payment, you have to divide the annual interest rate by 12. Using more than one workbook at a time. Copying and pasting from one workbook to another. Remember, earlier we showed you how to copy a group of cells to another group of cells. When you cut or copy something, it's placed on the clipboard, which is a special place in the computer's memory. The information stays on the clipboard, even though you close a workbook or open a new one. This allows you to copy something from one workbook to another. To demonstrate this, let's select this block of cells by clicking and dragging with the mouse. Now choose Copy. These cells have now been copied to the clipboard. Since you can have more than one workbook open at a time, let's open a different workbook to copy this information to. Click on the Open button. Let's open this one called Copy. Remember, a quick way of opening a file is just to double-click on the file name. When the new workbook is opened, select the block where you want this information to be pasted. Now click on Paste. And the data we copied from the other workbook onto the clipboard has been pasted into this new workbook. Viewing multiple workbooks. When you have more than one workbook open at a time in Excel, you can view the other worksheets just by clicking on the Window menu. This shows you a list of the workbooks that are currently open. In this case, we have 4 open workbooks, but you can have many more. The one with the check mark next to it is the one that's currently on the screen. Now, to change from one workbook to another, click on the name for the other workbook you want, and it will be visible on the screen. The other ones are still open behind it. If you'd like to be able to see more than one worksheet at a time, go back to the Window menu and click on Arrange. A dialog box opens which shows the different ways you can arrange the windows in Excel. You can choose tiled, horizontal, vertical, or cascade. Tiled is currently selected. This just means the documents will be arranged like tiles on a floor or wall, so you'll be able to see all of them at once, with each covering a small section of the screen. Let's do that now. When we click OK, all 4 notebooks that are currently open are now visible in a tile arrangement. Notice this workbook window has a blue title bar, and the others don't. The blue bar means this workbook window is currently active. Only the active window can be scrolled or have information entered into it. So in other words, if a workbook's not active, you can only look at it. You can't do anything to it. To make a different workbook active, just click on it. To go back to the full-sized view of a window, go to any one of the workbook windows and click on the Maximize button. The Maximize button looks like this if you're using Windows 95. Or if you're using Windows 3.1, it looks like this. So to review, copy information from one workbook to another by first clicking and dragging to select the cells and clicking on the Copy button. Then open a new workbook file by clicking on this button and double-clicking on a workbook file name. Select the cell where you want the information pasted and click on Paste. If you have more than one workbook file open, you can view another workbook by clicking on the Window menu and clicking on the name of the workbook you want. To see more than one workbook on your screen at a time, just click on the Window menu and click on Arrange. Select the arrangement you want and click OK. The window that has a blue title bar is currently active, which means you can scroll through the workbook and make changes. Remember, your colors may not be the same as we show here. To make a different workbook active, just click on it. Linking workbooks. Now that you know how to open more than one workbook at a time, we can show you how to link workbooks together. This just means that you can use values from one workbook in a formula on another workbook. Here we have 2 workbooks open, side by side on the screen. One for May, June, and July, and the other for August, September, and October. We'd like to take the quarter totals from each of these workbooks and add them together to get a 6-month total. We do this by linking the 2 workbooks together with a formula. Let's make this the active workbook by clicking on it. Now scroll over to see the next column. Let's put a new column title here. 6-month total. We'll be entering a new formula into this cell. Now click the mouse pointer in the formula bar. We type in an equal sign to start the formula. Then go to the other quarter total cell and click once to select the workbook we're linking to. Then we click here again to select the actual cell we want. Now the workbook title, worksheet, and cell address have all been entered into the formula. What we've done here is different from simply copying something to the clipboard and then pasting it into another document. Here's why. Since you have linked the two worksheets, any changes you make to the formulas in this workbook will be copied over to the other workbook automatically. Notice that the workbook where the formula is remains active, even though we've clicked on this cell in the other workbook. Although the cell is not in the active workbook, you'll know it's been selected if you see a dotted line around it, and the workbook title, worksheet, and cell address have all been entered into the formula. Add a plus sign, then click twice on the other quarter total cell. Now this cell address has been placed in the formula also. Press Enter on the keyboard. This is the 6-month total from both workbooks. Remember that the 6-month total is the total of the 2 quarters added together. But the quarter totals are also formulas that refer to other cells. So if we change the value in this July cell, both the quarter total and the 6-month total will change. To review linking workbooks, with 2 or more workbooks open, click on the one you want to place the formula in. Select a cell. Type an equal sign, and select the cell from the other workbook by clicking twice on it. Then type a plus sign and click on the cell in this workbook also by clicking twice. Press Enter on the keyboard to see the total. Creating a chart in Excel. Now we'll see how Excel can use the data in our worksheet to create different types of graphs or charts. We've written out a sample budget for a small company. Once you've typed this information into your computer, you can quickly turn it into a beautiful graph in just 10 seconds. It only takes 6 steps. Okay, here we go. You begin with a blank screen. You type in the normal way, the same words and numbers that we wrote down in the notebook. We move from square to square using the arrow keys. And there's the completed budget. It's just as easy as it looks. This is the same information we wrote down in the notebook. Nothing difficult. Notice we left this first square blank. To make your graph, you first want to highlight just the budget in order to tell Excel to turn this information into a graph. So we highlight it by holding down the left mouse button and moving the mouse. Now let go of the left mouse button, and the information remains highlighted. Now you can move the arrow to the word Insert and click the left mouse button. Now you move to the word Chart. When these two options appear, then click the left mouse button on As New Sheet. You've opened up a new box, the Chart Wizard box, in the center of the screen. To complete your chart, just move the pointer over to the button that says Finish and click on that. And the graph of your budget appears on screen. It's just that simple. And it's easy to change to a different style of chart using this button. It's called the Chart Type button. Click on it to open this chart menu. Then click on any of these buttons and watch the screen. This is still the same information we wrote down in the notebook, but we've changed it into a different style of graph by clicking on the Chart Type button. The Chart Type button may not always appear in this position. For example, it could be here or here. It looks like this, although it may have a picture of a different kind of chart on it. If you don't see this button anywhere on your screen, there's an easy way to make it appear. Just click on View, then click on Toolbars. Look at the word Chart. If there's a check mark next to it, go back and look for the button on your screen. If there's no check mark next to Chart, click in this box to place a check mark there. To return to the screen, click OK. Now you should be able to spot the Chart Type button on your screen. To make sure you found the right button, just place your mouse pointer on it, and you'll see a little description saying Chart Type. Notice here at the bottom that the chart is now a sheet in our workbook, called Chart 1. We can go back to our original worksheet by clicking on the Sheet 1 tab here. Now let's go back to the chart again by clicking on Chart 1. So to review creating charts, click and drag to highlight the cells in your worksheet. Then click on the Insert menu and select Chart. Click on As New Sheet. Then click Finish. To change the style of graph, click on the Chart Type button and select the one you want. Macros. In this next section, we'll show you how to record and use macros. A macro is just a shortcut way to record a series of actions and play them back with just a few keys. Macros can help you speed up tedious spreadsheet tasks. For instance, if you have a column or row title you use often, you can record a macro, and then instead of typing the entire title each time, you just press one or two keys, and it appears. We're going to write a macro that will change the appearance or format of a data table. Notice we have this cell highlighted. To record macros, click on the Tools menu and select Record Macro, and choose Use Relative References. This is so you can use the macro anywhere on the worksheet. Then click on the Tools menu again and choose Record Macro. Use Relative References now should have a check mark next to it. Now choose Record New Macro. This dialog box appears, and you can type in the name you want to use for your macro. Then press the Tab key. Here, the user's name and the date the macro is recorded appears. You can type a description of the macro in addition to this information. To do that, just click the mouse pointer here and press Enter. Type in the description. For example, we'll say that this macro will format our data table. Now click on the Options button to assign the macro to the Tools menu or to the keyboard. We're going to show you how to run a macro by pressing two keys on the keyboard. So let's select Shortcut key. Notice CTRL, a plus sign, and a letter K here. This means the macro will be performed by holding down the Control key and pressing the letter K. Excel will automatically assign a letter for each macro you record. You can change the letter if you want to. We'll use F for formatting. Click in the box and drag the mouse to select the letter and type in a new one. This means after you record your macro, all you have to do is press Ctrl and F, and the macro will play back what you've recorded. Now click OK and perform the steps you want to record in the macro. Remember, we're going to format our data table. We'll select the column titles and click on Bold. Now we'll select the row titles and click on Bold again. Then we'll click on the data and select Italics. You can click outside the data table to deselect it. Now you'll notice there's a floating toolbar that has a button and the word Stop on it. This is to stop recording a macro, so click on it. Here we've made another chart. We're going to change its formatting by playing the macro we just recorded. First, highlight this cell. Then, Press and hold down the Control key while pressing the letter F. This causes the steps recorded in the macro to be performed automatically. If you don't remember the keyboard command, you can also use the menu method. Just click on the Tools menu and click on Macro to get a list of all the macros that you have. Then click on the macro you're looking for. Once you've clicked on it, the description appears down here. You can select Run to play the macro now, or if you want to find the shortcut key combination, just click on Options. You'll see it down here. Click OK and click on Run. Notice that the column and row titles are in bold and the data is italicized. So to review, you can record a macro by first clicking on the Tools menu and selecting Record Macro. Make sure Use Relative References is checked and select Record New Macro. Type in the name for your macro and press the Tab key. Type in a description if you want and click on the Options button. Select Shortcut key. You can either keep the shortcut keys listed here, or you can change them to some other combination. Then click on OK. Now you can perform the tasks you want recorded. When you're done, click on the Stop Record button here. To play back a macro, you can either use the shortcut key combination or go to the Tools menu and select Macro. Click on the macro you want and click on Run. Creating a database. Sorting data. As we told you in the beginning, Excel is a spreadsheet program, but it also has database capabilities. This means you can organize information into records, much like in an address book. This helps you sort information very easily. For example, we have this list of employee names, departments, salary, and years of service. We want to sort this list alphabetically so we can easily find information on a particular person. To do this, make sure a cell is selected in the data table. Then in the Data menu, click on Sort. The Sort dialog box appears. If you click on this arrow, you'll notice that it automatically knows the names of your columns. Here you can choose which columns you want to sort by. Let's sort by last name. You can select either ascending order or descending order. We'll choose ascending. You can also sort by additional columns if you want to. Just click on this arrow and select the additional column you want sorted. Let's choose first name, since we have 2 employees with the same last name. When you click OK, it automatically puts the rows together and sorts the information. Notice how the last names were sorted first. And when the last names are the same, it alphabetically sorted the first names. This makes finding information easier. So to review sorting data, click on any cell in the data table, click on the Data menu, and select Sort. Click on this arrow and select the column you want to use to sort the data. Choose either ascending or descending order. If you want to sort by additional columns, click on this arrow and select another column. Again, choose either ascending or descending order and click OK. Filtering your data. Another easy way to find information is to filter your data. Again, highlight any cell in the table. Then go to the Data menu, select Filter, and choose Auto Filter. This places little arrows by the headings of your data. If you click on these, it will bring up a drop-down list, which shows you a list of all of the data in that particular column. If you have a long list of data, just click on the scroll arrows. All of these arrows work the same way. For instance, if you want to show everyone who makes $17,000, click on the arrow next to Salary and select 17,000. And it lists only the people who make $17,000. This is known as filtering. Notice the arrow is blue, which means it's currently filtered. We're looking at only part of the list. To view all of your data records again, click on the arrow and click on All. If you want to see all the employees who work in the advertising department, just click on the arrow next to Department and select Advertising. Now, this is a list of all of the people in our database who work in advertising. Again, to view all of your records, click on the arrow and then click on All. Customizing your own filter. You can also customize your own filter. For example, click on the arrow and select Custom. We want to show the names of those whose salary is greater than $25,000. So click on this arrow and select the greater than sign. Notice you can also choose equals, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to. Then click in the box and type 25,000. Then over on the right, click OK. Now we have a list filtered to show only those whose salaries are greater than $25,000. This is a quick and easy way to find data we're looking for. When you want to view all of your data records again, click on the blue arrow and select All. So to review filtering, with a cell selected in the data table, click on the Data menu and select Filter. Then click on Auto Filter. Click on the arrow in the columns you want filtered. Select the item to filter. To view all data records again, click on the arrow and click on All. Exiting Excel. When you're finished with Excel, just click on the File menu and click on Exit. If you haven't saved your workbook yet, this box will appear. If you want to save your workbook, click Yes. If you don't, click No. But remember, you'll lose all the data you've entered since you last saved. If you decide you want to continue working in Excel, click on Cancel. Let's click Yes. Clicking on Yes or No will cause the Excel program to shut down, and you'll return to the Windows screen.
The video you've just watched contains basic and intermediate features. QuickStudy videos are also available at the beginning, intermediate, and advanced levels for Windows, Microsoft Word, Excel, DOS, Lotus, WordPerfect, and Windows 95. We also offer tapes on Microsoft Works and a number of other programs. The flyer that came in the box with your tapes tells you how to order, and ordering information is also printed on the back page of your keystroke sheet. In 2 hours or less per video, you can learn dozens of time-saving skills. Sometimes a single feature can save hundreds of hours of labor. We ship all orders the day we receive them. You'll get your tapes in 7 to 10 working days. See your flyer for ordering information or call 1-800-828-8700.